Welcome to the GigaHub Weekly Show. I'm Adam Crin.
I'm Louis Delatore.
I'm Daikaiju Tony.
And we're here with All Things Geek. But before we get into it,
Let's talk about our sponsor.
Our sponsor, Cosmic Comics.
Our sponsor and our
Yes.
wonderful host, Cosmic Comics.
Right. I mean, as you can see behind me, they got lots of stuff, right? They have really cool stuff. Matter of fact, you can get this cool Spider-Man t-shirt.
Ooh.
That's classic, right? Classic.
Classic Spidey, yeah.
Not only that,
What else you got in your goodie bag down there?
Paul Dini Harley Quinn statue bust.
The only real Harley Quinn.
The only real Harley Quinn, right? Because that's where she started. Awesome, right? What other good stuff do you think they have?
Oh, wait. You want to talk Batman?
Yeah, let's talk Batman. That thing is cool.
I talked about this thing, I think, a couple
Yeah.
episodes back, but let's see if we can get a good shot of this.
Right. The Shakespeare Head from Batman 66.
This is the statue with the button that opened up the Batcave.
Right. That thing's too cool.
From Batman 66.
What do you got, Tony?
I have NECA Godzilla 1989
Yeah,
from Godzilla vs. Biollante. And
Flip that cover.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a really good figure. And,
It is a good figure, yeah.
And here's the thing. The Godzilla 89 and Godzilla 2003 and its variants, they're the last of the NECA Godzilla
Right,
run because NECA doesn't have the license for Godzilla anymore.
So get them while they last.
Yeah.
If I just put this in place
I would just put this
instead
in
of
the
my face,
background.
do you think we'd get more views?
I know we have to take it out of the box. I still want to buy that.
Yeah, I'll take it out of the box.
No.
Loud and clear. Take it out of the box. No. It's closed for whoever wants to come pick
So
this
yeah,
thing up.
Cosmic Comics, not just comics, not just graphic novels, not just back issues, which, by the way, lots of back issues added all the time, especially in the coming month or so.
Yep.
But also statues, apparel,
It's out of frame there.
novelties.
There's a Festivus
sorts.
for the rest of us magnet. So
There
if
is,
you're
yeah.
into Festivus,
There's Moo, I'm a cow, and it's actually a giraffe, which I know it sounds stupid to say it, but that magnet sells.
I don't get it. Am I
magnet
old?
Sells, yeah, maybe. But that magnet sells.
Is that
let me tell ya.
is that an internet joke that all the kids are talking
I guess, yeah. All right, so yeah, come on down to Cosmic Comics in lovely Las Vegas, Nevada.
The jewel of the Mojave Desert.
of the Mojave Desert.
Can we get that shirt made?
Yeah, well, that would be great, right? Back to you, Tony. No, I just had to say it because we hadn't said it in a couple episodes.
It's been a while.
So in this episode,
I'm excited because we're going to talk about
right,
a space epic of
Right.
a boy who leaves his farm behind to find his father and become a knight of the Order of Jedi.
what?
What?
We're talking about Star Wars?
No.
That sounds like the story
No.
of Final Fantasy 12.
I just need to remember we were talking about Star Wars, right?
Star Trek?
Star Trek.
Oh, that makes more sense. I'll show myself out.
Yeah. Well, if just to make you feel better, that's also kind of the rundown of the plot of Final Fantasy 12.
Say it's a rundown of hundreds of plots.
Campbellian monomyth.
But instead of Chewbacca, you got this bunny girl instead.
Technically, it's the plot of 2009 Star Trek, to be honest.
Yeah.
He leaves the farm to find his father. Yeah.
Fine. Let's talk about a boy who leaves home with his stepdad's car and drives it off a cliff.
Right.
I'm just kidding. I knew we were talking about Star Trek.
Right. So, Star Trek.
Star Trek.
It's been going on a good 55 years now.
Has it been that long?
45? 50, 55 years.
They've been the best 55 years of my life.
55 years now. Yeah, this is the 55th anniversary. I am not one to say it's all been good.
Right.
I don't know if you guys are.
Gasp. J.J. Abrams. Did someone say Kelvin timeline? I'm sorry, Kelvin timeline.
Yeah, right.
I don't even know how to pronounce that properly.
But let's go back. Let's go back to a fall day of 1966. Actually, I think it was 1955 when the first pilot came out. But we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about specifically what was televised and give our retrospective of how that all works and our general feelings about it. Sound good?
Sure, yeah.
All right. So, at its core, Star Trek, created by Gene Roddenberry, who was an LA cop, and then he got into TV after that. At its core, he wanted a science fiction show that essentially envisioned a better future for humanity. That was what it was supposed to be at its core. That's not to say there wasn't going to be conflict. He just didn't want there to be conflict within the human race and potentially member worlds of the Federation. which a lot of people have a lot of feelings that sort of hamstrung the show,
Yeah.
which I disagree with. I think if let me just say I find it similar to like the Comics Code, right? The old
Yeah.
Comics Code.
Mm-hmm.
That was a self-regulating code.
Body, yeah.
Yeah, body that the comics had to live by in the 50s to avoid censorship.
Mm.
And I think it made for some compelling stories that could appeal and be read by any age.
A lot of the best ideas come from
Right.
having those limitations, right?
Right, and
Yes.
if you look at a lot of movies, if you're somebody who watches special features on older Blu-ray DVD movies, horror movies, science fiction movies, one reoccurring theme in every special feature slash what do they call those? Like the commentary tracks.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is that because of budget, we had to be creative, and this is what you got. And in a lot of ways, it was something amazing.
Jaws.
So right,
Yes.
right, yeah, right,
Yeah.
exactly. So with that being said,
mean-
let's go way back to 1966. The original show was intended to be much more cerebral, but ultimately struck a good balance between action and science fiction.
Didn't he sell it as like a Western in space, like a
W-
wagon?
Right, because westerns were huge at
Yeah.
the time, which is a big part of Once Upon a Time in the West.
DeForest Kelly, big time Western.
He was a big Western actor,
star
right.
for a long time. Yeah.
Right. So before we get into the original series, have you seen the original series?
I've seen all the movies, but in terms of each of the show, I've been watching just like a select handful of episodes here and
Nothing
there.
wrong with that.
No.
Mainly
You've
because-
seen them all, though, right?
Yeah, I've seen them all. We've run through my girlfriend. And I like to sit down and run through them.
Right.
So we're past that. We're in TNG now, but we're talking about TOS. We'll
Right,
get to
right.
Like-
TNG in a second. I'm sure.
So what was your what's your feeling of the original show? I mean, I know
Well,
now this is an interesting perspective because you're much younger than both of us.
yes.
So,
Well, my first
Speak for yourself.
my first introduction to Star Trek was the original series, and it
nice.
was shown to me by my science teacher, who was a hardcore Trekkie
wow.
in middle school. And like occasionally, like he'd play maybe like 1 or 2 episodes when
wow.
we had nothing else to do.
Wow, nice.
And I think the first Star Trek episode I saw was the one with the triples.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good
Trouble
one.
with Tribbles.
That's a good one, yeah.
Yep.
So what did you think of the show? Did you like it? Did you think it was kind of dumb?
I liked it.
Did it feel silly?
At times, especially with the troubles.
Yeah.
But it's silly in a good way. Like I feel like it was intentionally silly and it worked in that sense.
In that episode, yeah, that they were going for a little more fun, I think.
Mm. Yeah, what happened to fun Star Trek, you guys?
I think what people forget nowadays, even people my age, because nowadays a season of a show is between 8, sometimes 6, and maybe 12 episodes. Back then, a season of a show was a solid 24 to 26 episodes every year. Invariably, some episodes were not as good as others, right?
Right, of course.
Right?
But some of the episodes in the original series were just, amazing. Obviously, everybody talks about the city on the edge of forever, where, they get stuck back in time, and Kirk has to let the woman he loves die, basically, because otherwise his future will not exist.
Yeah.
There's also the Galileo 7, which not only introduces a long-time Star Trek staple of the shuttlecraft, but it has to do with the idea of the needs of the many, the needs of the few, and Spock's sort of first command, which doesn't go as he wants.
Right.
You got let that be your last battlefield with the guys that the right half is like black and the other half is white.
Yeah, I remember that.
And the other guy, his other half is black, and they hate each other because of that. And it really smacks home how silly the idea of racism is.
Yeah.
Really great episode. Did you have more to say about that one?
Not about that episode specifically, but I think there was a lot of episodes that I like. I like what's the name of the character who's like a junk trader? What is his name?
Harry Mudd?
Harry Mudd.
Yeah.
Any episode with Harry Mudd, I am all for.
Right. Right.
Number one.
Yeah.
And then of course, I didn't write down any of these episodes, by the way. I'm
That's
so
okay.
sorry. But the one where he fights the Gorn.
Yeah, the
That's a
arena.
great
That's
episode. That's a
actually
great
a personal favorite. Yeah.
Greatest fight scene of all time.
I would just
All
trying to
time.
do what Kirk does.
Oh, okay. Yeah. His
Yeah.
pop in the ears.
Yeah.
It worked great on that guy. Yeah, that's a really good one. There's Where No Man Has Gone Before, of course, which was the second pilot, which wasn't the first aired episode. I think it was like the third or fourth.
Right.
But that's the one where his good friend gets basically unlimited cosmic power, and what that costs is his humanity, essentially. The menagerie, which is
good, yeah.
which is where they cut up the original pilot, which makes for a great great 2-part episode in of itself.
And the episode itself is actually very good.
Right,
it's
the original,
very good. There's the original pilot,
and I can tell you back then, like there was no way to see that pilot. I think the first time I ever saw the original pilot, I want to say was probably the early '90s.
Really?
And even then, parts of it were black and white. It wasn't until later when they sort of restored it all in color, which I don't even know if you know what we're talking about.
The pilot for
The original pilot called The Cage.
Oh, with the different actor for
The different captain,
Yeah, Kirk.
Pike,
yeah.
right?
Pike,
Christopher
yeah.
Pike, yeah.
Or Pike, yeah.
And then A Taste for Armageddon, where basically they wage war with computers and people line up to be disintegrated based on the outcome of the war game. That's a really good one. You know, just some good classic science fiction themed episodes.
Second episode I saw back in middle school was, and I think this counts as my first time travel episode of Star Trek. It's basically when I think it's World War II or either before or after World War II, and Spock has to wear a bandana to cover his ears.
I think that's the City on the Edge of Forever.
Yeah,
he has to wear a beanie. Yeah, it's the Depression. It's like 1930 or something.
No, okay. He wore a bandana and the one with the whales.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. City on
the Edge of Forever is the beanie where he creates a radio. It's got all the tubes and stuff.
Yes, I remember that now. Yeah.
It's funny how much that show relies upon whatever set they have available on the lot, right? So they can't all be in space. So there's a lot of settings where it's we have a setting where it's like a Greek garden, or we have the OK Corral. There was the OK Corral episode.
Stuff that was made at the time.
Was City on the Edge of Forever the first time travel episode of Star Trek, or
I don't know.
Was it the first time they integrated time travel in the stories?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I'd have to look that one up. I've seen them all, but that doesn't mean I've memorized them all, especially the order. I tend to jump around, and some I just don't. I might watch once, but some I think just because of the subject matter, I actually have trouble rewatching because it can get kind of psychologically rough.
Heavy, yeah.
Especially the one, I don't know why it bothers me, but speaking of the Greek garden or whatever, or the Roman garden, when they go to the planet with the guys that are psychic and they can just control you. That's the one with the first interracial kiss on American television.
Oh, right, yeah.
But it's the fact that they're forcing them to do all these things. Something about that has always bothered me, even as a little kid.
Yeah.
It's like they have no control. Well, WandaVision, they have no control over their own will.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe you're afraid. Right. That's what you're afraid of.
Yeah,
is losing control.
Maybe.
No. Stop talking about Star Trek. Let's talk about this. Let's get into this. Let's get into this. Right. How's your relationship with your parents? Let's on a scale of 1 to 10. How much do they hug you?
All right. And of course, Star Trek ended after the third season. The ratings just weren't there for the budget. And then after that, what do you think's after that? What do you think came after Star Trek, the original series?
Star Trek the motion picture?
Star Trek the animated series.
Oh, correct.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing an episode 2 on Netflix.
Yeah, the oft-forgotten about animated series continued right where the original series left off.
It was short, though, right?
It ran for 2 seasons, but it only had a total of 22 episodes. I think, personally, they should be considered the 4th season of the show. It was a Saturday morning cartoon, but the truth is, it's treated very seriously, as serious as the show was. Going animated allowed for, I forgot my slideshows. Where is it? Okay. Going animated really allowed them to branch out. They were able to do more things. They had more aliens instead of people that just looked human. But
it just goes back to planets. It's a planet where they're in the 1800s.
Right. These aliens, which unfortunately I do not have a picture of, they look like aliens.
Yeah.
The problem with that show, the biggest problem I think with that show is Roddenberry himself wasn't too invested in it. Is my understanding. However, a lot of the primary writers were still involved from the old show, mainly Dorothy Fontana, which is known more commonly as DC Fontana. She wrote a lot of the episodes. She was the showrunner essentially. So it felt a lot like Star Trek. Some of the episodes are weaker than others. They didn't have the original music, but it's good. I mean, if you've never seen it, it's good.
I honestly, I wish I could contribite more to this one.
Right.
The animated one is the one. I have not seen a single episode of the animated one.
Really?
Yeah.
It's it's low budget, no doubt, but all the voices are there. But despite its flaws, it had some solid sci-fi stories. I can only wonder, imagine if Roddenberry and company had embraced the animated medium and gave it a real budget, and it got a real budget, what it could have been.
Right.
I mean, because they did do a lot more interesting thing with aliens. So, well, if you're a Star Trek fan, especially the old show, and you haven't seen the animated series, Luis, you should check it out. Don't try to binge it, but it's worth checking out.
I can't.
Wait, how long
not
is each
binge it.
episode?
Only like 22 minutes, 23 minutes. It was a half-hour Saturday morning cartoon, basically.
All right.
So the episodes tend to be pretty lean and mean.
I was watching Hulk Hogan's Rock and Wrestling at the time, probably.
Okay. Well, it was on in the 70s.
No, I know. I wasn't alive in the 70s.
All right. So after the animated series and after Star Wars hit big, Roddenberry was trying to develop another show called Star Trek Phase 2, which suddenly, I think Star Wars' success turned it into Star Trek the Motion Picture. Who's seen Star Trek the Motion Picture? Oh, you have seen it. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Have you seen the director's edition?
I believe I have.
I
think that's the version I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
The version I have is from a box. It's not really a box.
It's a Blu-ray
it's a DVD collection of the motion picture all the way up to the last Next Generation.
If it's an old DVD, it may be the director's edition. I find it very unfortunate that the director's edition has not been remastered in high def for Blu-ray because I want to say somewhere around 2003 or so. Robert Wise, I couldn't think of his name. Robert Wise was actually given money and CG resources to complete the movie because if you've seen Star Trek the Motion Picture, the theatrical cut, it's very long. There's a lot of needless ship flying, right?
Yeah.
Right?
It's not the action-packed.
The movie was famously unfinished. Like, he was allowed to go back using CGI and finish it. I want to say it's like 15 minutes shorter, and it's a much better movie because of it, you know? It's still not action-packed. It's much more of a science fiction film.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's a better film. The only thing I didn't personally like, and it's no fault of the motion picture, but now V'ger is sort of tied in canonically with the Borg, which I just think is stupid.
Which one? What is it? You said V'ger?
V'ger. That was the probe that was in the cloud. Basically.
Oh, right. Okay.
Anyway, yeah. So after that, we of course get into a couple years pass, and then we get what everybody loves is this isn't showing it, but what we get after that is of course the Wrath of Khan.
Khan.
Right. So
Benedict Cumberbatch was wonderful.
Okay. So to reinvent Star Trek, right? You know what? Yeah, to reinvent Star Trek, they kind of went at a more action-oriented angle with sci-fi elements. It's definitely an action film with science fiction elements. Mm-hmm. What did you guys think of Wrath of Khan?
Okay, so first time I saw Wrath of Khan, I had to go back and look for
Space Seed.
Yeah, I had to look for the episodes of his first appearance to understand his character because I was weirded out. Who
is this guy?
Yeah, who was this guy? And then I remember being freaked out by the whole worms going to.
In his ear.
That
going
was
into
that was
his ear.
freaky.
I was like, oh my god.
Right.
I remember seeing that movie as a kid. The first time I saw it was in Spanish.
Yeah.
Because we used to have satellite television, and my dad would watch a lot of Spanish TV. And in Mexico, they take movies and they translate them.
They dub them, yeah.
They dub them, and you can watch them in Spanish. That's the first time I saw it was in Spanish.
Nice. How was the delivery of Khan?
Not as impactful. Not as impactful.
Yeah.
The actor who played Kirk was good. Serviceable, I would say, but he was no Shatner.
And to be
sure.
fair, that is arguably, and I don't even think it's arguable, that is probably one of Shatner's best roles ever. Ever.
Yeah.
He is really good in that.
Yeah.
I watched a thing with the director whose name is escaping me now, and he found a way to get through to Shatner to get him to be better, I guess, for lack of a better term.
We threatened him with his paycheck.
No, that wasn't it.
Yeah. The movie, first time I saw it, I was surprised at how violent it was.
How violent? Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty. But it's good, though. And the important thing is it reinvigorated Star Trek on a pop culture level.
Yeah.
The motion picture failed to do that for several reasons. I remember liking the film, the motion picture, but yeah, it's pretty boring.
The first one or
the theatrical cut. But then, of course, Wrath of Khan was like, oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Spock dying.
And Spock died. And then, of course...
And it was Ricardo Montalban.
He was great.
Brilliant.
He was
Brilliant.
great, yeah. He was great.
Yeah.
And, there's an anecdote about that with the director where apparently Ricardo Montalban, he felt was like this really underrated actor. Like he's a great actor who just never seemed to get... He had a lot of good parts early on in his career, but he never seemed to get like really good parts.
Noted character actor Ricardo Montalban.
Right. And when he was working with Ricardo Montalban, he kind of jabbed him a little, and then Ricardo Montalban like looked at him and he goes, "Okay, you're going to direct me. I need that." And he explained later as their relationship grew something along the lines of, he said how when you reach a certain status as an actor, directors are afraid to talk to you and tell you what they need from you, and it hurts your performances. And he's so glad that this guy was able to say, "No, I need this."
Kevin Smith and Bruce Willis come to mind.
Yeah, no.
Wait, what?
Yeah, but so Ricardo Montalban's great. Yeah, that's a whole nother anecdote.
Yeah,
we'll tell
you after the show. Okay. I'm not going to waste these people's times with a Kevin Smith story.
So next is Star Trek 3: The Search for Spock, which people have mixed feelings about.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. Honestly,
right.
it's not. It's honestly not the best one. I would say out of all of them, it's probably my least favorite.
You know how? Really, even after 5, I actually like 5, but.
Yeah, I would say so.
Really?
I would say it's probably my least favorite.
But it's got Doc Brown as a Klingon.
I know, and Christopher Lloyd is fantastic.
Amazing, yeah.
He's amazing.
Right.
But yeah, I'm sorry, even Chris Lloyd couldn't keep me. Like I said, I didn't hate it. I just it wasn't the best one.
You know how people are like really pissed off that that George Lucas went back and changed a lot of things in Star Wars.
Yeah.
That's a common practice, or at least it used to be with films before the digital age. And that happened to Star Trek 3 in one scene in particular.
No,
pretty heavily.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it actually happened in Alien a lot too. Ridley Scott has changed Alien multiple times through the years.
Oh man.
There is a scene you can't find it. It just doesn't exist. But there was a scene in Star Trek 3 where Kirk is trying to help Commander Krug, when they're fighting. And he's basically like, he tries to help him, and Commander Krug's like, "F you," and then he tries to help him, and Commander Krug's like, "F you, I'm going to kill you." And then literally, like, there was a scene where he's hanging off his boot, and Kirk's like, "I am sick," and he's kicking him in the face, and tired of you, and kicks him off. That's no longer there, at least not in that form. So yeah, that's been changed.
Yeah,
it's been changed to make Kirk look not quite so ruthless.
So
I mean, I figured at that point that would be like expected, right?
Right.
But here's the thing, right? Like, I don't know. You say they got changed. I don't know how much it got changed.
Yeah.
But did it get changed to the point to where like a key character, something that he did that was in character, was taken out completely because it was too much for kids, Or it was like, oh, he's a hero. Like, well, he doesn't start as a hero. I'm talking about Han Solo, obviously, right? Like.
No, this is Star Trek 3.
Right, no, I know. But that's what I mean. Like, did they change it to where, like, the character, like, it's a pivotal part of the character? Like, Han Solo is supposed to be a criminal. He's supposed to be a jerk.
Right.
The fact that you change that is kind of a dumb idea.
That was a dumb idea. So in Kirk's case, I think it probably helped a little bit because it did make Kirk seem a little crappy. Like, basically, screw this guy. Like, it was not very Kirk-like.
It's not very Federation-like, is it?
It's not very Federation-like. Kirk may have done it, but...
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
I never really looked into the history of that movie, but was the plan to bring back Spock something based on fan reception from the last movie, or something that was planned to begin with? Because...
I don't know.
Because, stuff like that happens to a movie all the time, like with Halloween H2O. Like, they killed Michael Myers in the end, but in the second one, nope, turns out we were planning to, like, keep him alive for a sequel.
in my mind's eye, I don't even remember what the news, or you got to remember too, we had a lot less sources back then.
Right.
I mean, there was Starlog magazine, and maybe that was it. You know what I mean? There wasn't a lot of resources for that kind of information.
You couldn't just go on the internet back then?
Yeah,
Is that what you're saying?
No, not
I find that crazy.
Not 1983. So I'm not sure, to be honest. I would guess that it was probably lightning in a bottle, and Nimoy was probably like, "Yeah, I'll come back," you know, and it kind of went from there.
Everyone I talk to loves Leonard. I think everyone I've talked about Star Trek has pretty much universally said that their favorite character is Spock.
Oh yeah,
my favorite character is Sulu.
Sulu.
He was mine as a kid. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh my.
I thought, wow, that's
Well, that's not Sulu. That's George Takei.
What's the thing? When you're a kid, it's like, who's your favorite character? Obviously, it's Kirk, right? You know what I mean?
Well,
but it's like
Kirk was almost like a surrogate father figure. I know that sounds weird, but he was.
Yeah, I know you've told me that before. Yeah.
But
I mean, like, you know what I mean? It's just it's interesting to hear that like someone's favorite character is not Kirk or Spock.
Right. It's Sulu. Yeah.
That's cool.
I like Spock. Yeah, I love Spock.
Yeah,
I love
awesome.
Bones.
I love Bones.
Bones
yeah.
is my
As an
favorite.
adult, Bones is my favorite.
Yeah. I grew up and I'm like, yeah, we're all I'm Bones at the very least.
Yeah, he's great. So anyway, so then we get into Star Trek 4, which is simultaneously the dumbest and cheesiest movie, but also a pretty good movie.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about Star Trek 4?
It was the first Star Trek movie I have ever seen in my film class.
Yeah, that's right. I remember you telling me
and
that. It's just
looking at the
bizarre.
plot, even back then, I was like, really, it's about whales of all things?
Now, and I think I told you this when we talked about it, in the 80s, that was like a big deal. Like, those kind of whales and other species apparently were on the brink of extinction.
The
like
humpbacks,
almost,
right?
Almost gone completely. So that was like a big deal. Now they've bounced back, so the movie doesn't have the same kind of impact like whales.
Maybe
What are
they
you talking
bounced
about?
back because of the movie.
Well, that's a common belief that it sort of brought it...
Kind of like how
it brought it to a public consciousness. Nobody cared, or at least nobody wanted to think about it.
In the way that Dare kept us off drugs.
Anyway.
No, I'm kidding.
Just say no. No to what? What are these? What are these things?
Well, let me try them before I say no.
Right.
No. But I mean, I could see that. I could see that, like being brought to people's attention through. Obviously, a medium that you enjoy, being sci-fi.
How
or
did
Star
you feel
Trek or
about
whatever.
Star Trek 4?
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Yeah.
Did
The
you
scene
like
with
it?
the
though?
whales
I
was
liked it. I
fantastic.
liked it, especially.
Yeah.
I
I was like majestic, right? Like
Yeah.
the whole like the scene with like the whale, like when you're I don't
It's
know.
like cheesy, but it's good.
I could.
Like,
Is this weird? Is it weird that I could just watch whales swimming?
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a nature documentary or something. I don't know. I found it very peaceful.
Parts that like made the whole classroom laugh was when they were in the subway and Spock just did the pinch to grab the boombox, and
The dude with the boombox, yeah.
I was laughing I laughed a bit at the part where Scotty, like, they tried getting him out of the hospital.
I always like the part where he's like, "Oh, use this," and he's like, "Computer,"
He's like,
because he doesn't know what the mouse
like-
is.
Yeah.
Which that's a very early mouse. That was an old
Yeah.
Apple. Yeah, that was an old Apple.
and the doctor's like, "No, we're gonna have to I'm gonna have to use the scalpel and you have to perform surgery on him." And
Witch doctors.
yeah, McCoy's like, "That's barbaric."
Yeah. Here, take these. I grew a new kidney.
Wow.
Yeah, and then of course we come to what everybody thinks of as the Godzilla's Revenge of the Star Trek franchise, Star Trek V,
Star Trek
With
5.
those weird Klingons and
with the glam rock Klingons, directed by William Shatner. A lot of people hate the movie.
They look like they were performing like on a stage at like Six Flags, right?
Yeah,
you know what I
they-
mean?
They
Like-
do have that look.
Like Six Flags got the rights to Klingons for 3 years, and they had the show where they would come out and do like a Klingon rock song.
Or maybe I was like, it's like when
it's like
Klingon,
Captain
it's
EO
like-
or
I was gonna say it's like
Hey,
the
Captain EO is good.
Klingon Federation have a treaty, and that's like a Klingon Kiss cover band. Like,
No,
that's,
my God.
that's what they're kind of like, you know. It's like they have this total weird.
I would have
glam rock
loved.
look
I would
going.
have loved if at some point, like, to get into like that rock and roll like spirit that was going on in the '80s. If they
So-
did let them like cover a song or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Did you like that one? Did you?
I was definitely weirded out by the way the Klingons looked. Its production value, like, okay, so I saw 5 after I did a watch of 2, 3, and a rewatch of 4, and like in comparison, I look at the production values of it. I'm like, what happened from this point to there?
Well, but did you like it?
In a
You
bad
could say
way.
no. You could say no.
Like
or for the wrong reasons, maybe. You
for
were
the wrong.
entertained? Okay.
Like it's cheesy.
I find enjoyment out of it.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
like legitimate or for the
yeah,
wrong
no,
reasons?
no, for the wrong reasons.
Oh, okay.
Like more enjoyment than 3, because at least I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm looking at like pictures of the Klingons because I want to like remember, and I found this picture that it looks like.
I enjoyed more
The
than
glam rock
like-
Klingons. Right. I think I have a picture of them if this scrolls through.
Like the one Klingon lady's like flexing. Oh, it's
Oh,
great.
yeah.
She's
It's great.
friggin' she's.
I enjoyed more than.
Oh, no, I guess I don't have a picture. That's just them looking at the God character.
Yeah, I enjoyed more than a movie we'll get to like later on the list, particularly a crossover movie.
Oh.
I
Now-
enjoyed more than that, in both in terms of plot and the effects.
Now,
So,
Star Trek V, I'll be honest, I actually do like the movie for the right reasons.
Oh, okay.
Is it the best? No, but it does a couple things in the series that I think strengthen the series as a whole and the old show the movie series and the old show as a whole. And I think the two things it does very well that sort of Kirk got, or at least Shatner got on a meta level of the characters, not so much the actors clearly, but from the character's point of view, is that he got that their relationships and how they interacted with each other and the bits in the movie, like they work because of who those characters are and who the actors are. And also the bigger part is the Spock, Kirk, McCoy relationship, I think, is so strengthened by that movie. I mean, that movie ultimately is about those three's primary relationship. And I think on that level is where that movie succeeds really well.
Yeah.
Now-
They have such a great dynamic.
Right.
Just as three. Like,
Right.
they're basically Spock and, what is it? Spock and Bones are like two sides of a coin, and like
Right.
Kirk is like a mix of both of them.
Right.
Like it's almost like I need to hear both sides
Right.
of whatever argument this
Right,
is, and I'm
right.
gonna get different sides from Spock, and I'm gonna get different sides from Bones, and
Right.
in that way make a better decision.
Right. And for those reasons, I think the movie succeeds on that level. Yeah, it's really cheesy at moments. But I think they were a little too old for some of the action sequences. Like they looked their age.
well,
Right.
you definitely get the feeling that, like, what the actors are giving, like this could be like their last time working together.
True.
Yeah,
Very
like-
true.
Especially like throughout the end, where
Don't want that.
I forgot they did like one more time of
The row your boat.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that was cool because it was also showing at the beginning where they couldn't get in sync and they were all at odds, and then at the end they were all in rhythm. I thought that was really cool. That was a nice scene.
Yeah.
So I think the movie helps the series of films and the old show in a way that could not have been without it. But that being said, let's move on to the last, but certainly not the least, and that's Star Trek VI: The Undiscovered Country.
Yep.
How do you feel about that one?
Undiscovered Country.
Refresh
I
my
haven't seen
memory.
that
It's
in
been
a-
such a long
yeah.
time since I've seen it.
What? You guys, man. The Undiscovered Country is where the Klingon moon, which is overmined, blows up and pollutes their atmosphere.
Oh,
And
okay.
the Klingons were on the verge. It was essentially kind of a Cold War parable where the Klingons were on the verge of collapse anyway, and that moon just put them over the edge, and now they basically need help. They can't continue to exist as a political entity without the help of someone else, and the Federation being their closest neighbors, they basically said, we want peace.
Yeah.
That being said, there were many forces working against that peace. And, yeah, so that's the movie, essentially. You don't remember it?
No, it's not ringing any bells.
But this was
What?
this-
I'm starting to wonder if I may have seen it or not.
but this was the last time they were all together, right?
That was the last time
Or
they were
supposed
together
to-
as a crew.
as a crew. Yeah,
Except for Sulu, but even he's in it.
yeah,
'Cause Sulu got his own command.
yeah.
Right.
I remember Sulu getting his own command
Right.
at a certain point.
Yeah, I honestly, I either don't remember it or I have not seen it. I'm going to go ahead and say that I
I'm-
probably have not seen it.
I'm so disappointed in you. It's a good one, honestly. It's one of the better movies.
I don't think I have it, though.
Yikes.
Like, everything I've watched through. It's probably on Netflix. I'm going to have to sit down and watch it. It doesn't sound familiar. I might have seen it and just forgotten about it. I don't know.
Blasphemy. Well, okay, we'll just move right past that then. So, did you have something to say about the
Like,
6?
I vaguely remember it because it's been like more than 6 years
Well,
since
that's
I've been
okay.
watched
That's
all of them
okay.
at once. But yeah, I do remember the whole Klingon moon thing.
Right.
And I was at the time.
They have a dinner and they all get drunk. They wake up with terrible hangovers from Romulan ale.
Yeah.
And then somebody kills David Warner's character. And, there's this whole plot, basically, like certain factions. It's funny and ironic, which is what makes it so good, is that the Klingons and the Federation, certain aspects of the Klingon and Federation government work together to ensure that there's no peace. So, of course, Kirk and company foil it because that's what they do.
Yeah, that's how they do.
That's what they do. And Kirk, honestly, originally Kirk was supposed to die. And again, that's another change that you will not see. But in the original theatrical release, when he jumped, there's a scene in the end where they're going to assassinate the president of the United Federation of Planets. And they shoot, and Kirk jumps, and you see the blast hit him. But then he's okay. That has been removed from later edits. That was in the theatrical release. And now, of course, that doesn't happen. But, yeah, so... because he was supposed to originally die. That was supposed to be his swan song, and I guess they kept him alive for potential future movies. But yeah.
Until he actually did.
Yeah, well, we'll get into that. So now we're going to backtrack a little bit because a few years before these movies, Roddenberry was able, because he had nothing, believe it or not, he had very little to do with the movies. After the motion picture, he had the only way, my understanding is the only way he could keep the movies going, and this was going in production of Wrath of Khan, was if he stepped back.
Yeah.
And but he was able to get another show going, and of course that show, which was in 1987, was Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Hold on. I want to talk about Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Okay.
Because it's my favorite series.
That's okay.
It's one of my favorites.
No, okay.
Okay. But can we talk about Leonard Nimoy's solo career as a singer with his brilliant song Bilbo Baggins?
Bilbo
Baggins. Do we have that queued up?
No, I wish I did.
Wasn't Leonard Nimoy the narrator of Unsolved Mystery? Or no?
No, he did In Search of...
I know he did a Y2K VHS.
Yeah. There was a show in the 70s called In Search of, which was kind of like an Unsolved Mysteries, except not crime. It was more like unusual things.
Yeah.
Do yourself a favor, though. Do look up Bilbo Baggins by
Leonard Nimoy, Bilbo Baggins.
Leonard Nimoy, yeah.
Nimoy.
Anyway, I just wanted to put that footnote in there.
Right.
No, I think it was an
Baggins.
episode of In Search of, because it dealt with paranormal stuff, right?
Right, yeah.
Basically, there was this one with the haunted Toys R Us.
Probably,
Yeah, and Leonard Nimoy was narrating it, and I'm like, I'm not watching.
So Next Generation, what are your feelings about that there?
I-
my favorite series ever.
I love Next Generation. Honestly, Next Generation was the very first Star Trek that I ever saw.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like TOS and all the movies came after came after I had seen this series. Honestly, this was the first Star Trek that I'd ever seen.
Right.
And I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I thought like there was maybe like the first episode was a little bit slow, but as the
Worf
series
with his good haircut.
as the series continued, like a lot of what made the original Star Trek series so good, like a lot of those storytelling elements like really sort of shone through in some of those episodes.
Yeah.
So, I was able to appreciate it because I thought it was going to be an action show.
Yeah.
They made it seem like it was gonna be an action show. There was spaceships and lasers, and I'm like, I am all here for spaceships and lasers.
Yeah.
And there were spaceships and lasers, just not all the time.
Right.
So,
Right.
but I had to learn to sit down and really appreciate what
Have
was
you
in
watched
the show.
a lot of the Next Generation?
I've watched
Tony?
more episodes of Next Generation than the original Star Trek.
Well, that makes sense because there's a hell of a lot more of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, 7 seasons as
And,
opposed to 3.
From me watching Next Generation in middle school to now, like my opinions changed on like certain characters based on like the more episodes I watch.
Yeah.
Like Worf used to be my favorite character until I saw that one trial episode where he was.
Is that where they shock them or they have the heat pokers or something?
No, the trial is basically it was.
Witch Hunt, right? With Gene Simmons?
Yeah, it was
not the Kiss guy, the actress from
Yeah.
Spartacus.
Yeah, it was a witch hunt episode,
Right,
and
right.
in the end, Worf is like, "Oh, I cannot believe I believed her to begin with.
Yeah.
Oh my, like how could I be so
And
foolish?"
Picard's like, we always got to watch out. We always
Yeah.
got to be careful of that kind of thinking. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I do,
there-
but I do think that's a good episode.
Right. It is. Yeah.
There are a lot of glaring issues looking back on it now. Like when I watch Star Trek now, I'm like, there's a lot of stuff here that's not that's a little bit off, I would say.
Oh, like the episode-
Worf being one of them.
Oh yeah.
I have a few complaints about the character. I love Worf. I think
do
as
too.
a character he's great, but I think the way that they wrote him in that show is a travesty.
Weird.
It's a
yeah,
travesty.
It's weird.
Like he's supposed to be this. He's
Security.
supposed to be he's security.
he
He's supposed to
always
be-
gets his butt kicked.
Yes, he gets his butt kicked all
Always
the time.
gets his butt kicked.
Yeah. Right.
He's never right.
Yeah. He's
exactly.
never right.
He's
yeah.
never right. Like anytime they're like, we have this planet. Let's get a threat assessment. Mr. Worf, what are we doing? He's like, I feel like we should like fight.
Kill
back.
them all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sometimes he's like, let's take this security measure. It's like, no thanks, Worf.
Yeah, meanwhile, Data does a better
Right.
job at
Right.
doing what Worf is supposed to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought the show started good. It asked complicated questions. Even the Planet Wakanda episode, Cone of Honor, it's hard to watch now. Like it's hard to watch, but it's an interesting show
Planet
that
Wakanda.
that deals
Oh my
with
God.
different cultures' views on how
Yeah,
things
yeah.
should go. Right?
Yes.
There was a clear-cut message to that episode,
yeah.
and I think
And
that
the message is good,
execution
but it's hard to
is a little hard to watch.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's hard to watch.
And my favorite episode is known to be one of the more divisive episodes called.
God, which one's
It's
that?
one of the first ones called Justice.
Justice. Is,
It's the one where
Oh, that's the one with Gene Simmons. I thought where Worf is
no.
Justice.
It's the one where they check out this planet. And it's full of mating fiends. Like they make love at the sight of
Yeah.
any life form. And then I forgot her name, but I know she ends up dying like a couple episodes later.
Yeah, Tasha. Yeah.
Tasha, yeah. And here's the thing. Even though there's like problems with the plot, I still love it. Basically, like I looked at all these planets' laws, and they seem to be like the most peaceful civilization. And
Right.
and the moment Wesley breaks the law and they sentence him to death.
Yeah.
I didn't read about this law. I'm like, so you didn't do a good, thorough.
So you didn't
Guys,
do yeah.
that's what
Investigation of
that
their laws.
episode. That episode is what made me hate Wesley.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
made
yeah.
me hate him.
Oh, especially when
because
he's trying to impress that one girl.
because
yeah.
I put myself in the shoes of the crew, right? Because they're like,
Like,
you guys,
you little mother effer."
Picard's gonna go down there. He's gonna make sure everything's cool before we head down there. There's all kinds of awesome stuff on that planet. It's
Right,
gonna be a
right.
good
Yes.
shore leave, guys. And it's like, guys, Wesley messed it up. Like, because of course he did.
Because of
because
course
of
he
course
did, yeah.
he freaking did. Why are we bringing a child down there?
Yes.
Right.
Oh yeah, and the way they describe like after they describe the inhabitants of the planet making love to almost everything.
Almost everything.
Over yeah.
Wesley's mom is like, "Oh, it'd be good for the children." I'm like, "What?"
What? Yeah. Maybe a little healthier. I don't know.
Wesley's
You know
mom
which
with
you
that-
know, you know which character I used to like back in the day, and then now I've rewatched a lot of the episodes and I absolutely hate now. I think
I'm terrified.
I think,
I'm
I-
mortified at what
I
you're gonna
think
say.
he's the worst now. I think he is terrible.
Is it
Is
the
it-
guy who
wait,
sits like
Let's say it
this?
at the same time. Let's say it at the same time. Let's see if we're thinking on the same. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Jordy.
Riker.
Oh,
Both of them actually.
yeah.
I don't like Jordy either.
Actually, you're
but-
right
but
too.
Riker.
How does Riker sit again? It's like
yeah. Yeah. The Riker maneuver.
Wait,
Actually,
Hold on. I'm gonna do my best Riker. Hold on.
I have a. There it is. The Riker maneuver. I have him like straddling. He's got his knee up.
How's this?
Oh, hold on. Let me get on you. There we go.
that
You're a
good?
little too close, but yeah, the Riker maneuver.
I mean, I liked Jordy when he had a beard once.
I have a picture of that too, actually. But
Like, the facial hair is
Riker, like he's
pompous, but that's part of his
he's
character.
pompous. He's God.
He's what the kids would call an F boy, right?
Right, yeah. God, what an annoying piece of crap, man. He's the one like everybody.
I used to think he was cool.
What even people that aren't really Star Trek Next Generation fans, their favorite episode is usually I don't remember what it's called, but it's basically like Jarmak and Talad, the walls fell. You know where the one race speaks in metaphors.
Yeah.
He got that guy killed because of his incompetence. He got that guy killed. Like, oh my God! Like, why was he not court-martialed for that? And then there's the episode where basically Picard's out of there, and Captain Jellicoe, who's played by the supremely awesome Ronnie Cox, the bad guy from Total Recall and RoboCop.
Yeah.
He plays Captain Jellicoe. Captain Jellicoe is a military captain. He's like, this is how it is. This is what needs to happen. Let's get it done. I mean, everybody on the crew responds to him. Everybody. Okay, let's do it. Except for, guess who?
Riker.
William effing Riker.
It's all
right?
fiction.
Well, true. But
No,
not only does Riker throw hissy fits, that he basically gets relieved. Basically, Jellicoe says, "Get off my bridge. I'm tired of dealing with you. You need to do what we need to do because there's no time to debate this stuff.
Yeah.
Get off my bridge." And then, because as it turns out, right, because that's how the writers made it, Riker's the best pilot. They need him to fly something.
He's someone's Mary Sue,
So
I'm sure.
basically, right? Yeah. So basically, Captain Jellicoe goes to his cabin to basically say, "Look, we need you. I need you to do this." What does Riker do? Riker literally makes him beg. He doesn't step up like a Starfleet officer and said, "Yep, I'll do it." He makes Jellicoe beg, not grovel.
I thought
What a piece of crap.
when I was a kid, I thought
I
he was
did
cool.
too. I did too.
Thought
I was younger.
I thought he was cool.
Yeah.
And then when you look back on it, you're like, this guy's kind of disgusting.
Right. What a
He
jerk.
has some, it's great because sometimes he has moments when you're like, wow, that's
Yeah.
very profound, Riker. Why do I dislike you? And then he goes to the next scene. You're like, oh, right. No, because you're gross.
Right.
I mean, I
Yeah.
thought Worf was cool.
Right. I kind of like Worf, but he's like you said, badly written.
Although,
Poor guy never wins a
Yeah.
fight. But Geordi,
What don't you like about Jordan?
Creeper Geordi.
Geordi. I don't dislike Geordi as much
So
as I
imagine
dislike
a future
Riker, but like,
where you can create your own porn to virtually live out. That's the problem with Geordi. Enough said. But he makes it about a real person that he sort of has a relationship
Geordi,
with in the holodeck.
I think
and lets it intrude into the real relationship with her.
I don't dislike Geordi as much as I dislike Riker.
Right.
But I think Geordi has some real simp moments that I think is the problem.
Yeah,
there was an episode I remember where he was like complaining about like how he didn't have a girlfriend.
He does complain an awful lot, right?
Yeah.
Although he does give the best description of facial hair, like, oh, it's there to determine dominance with men.
Right.
Yeah. My favorite character.
Geordi.
What are you trying to say? Clean cut guy?
Right.
The only clean cut guy.
Actually, the one picture I have of Geordi, I think he
Has a beard?
Has a beard. Yeah, it's. I
Yeah.
don't remember what episode.
So-
it's.
He does look pretty sweet with the beard.
He does look good with the
With
beard.
over
yeah.
time, my most disliked character became Worf, and
Oh, really?
yeah, just
I think he got better as the show got along.
I don't
He
dislike
was
Worf.
written better.
He's written terribly.
and
He was written better later on.
My favorite character in Next Generation is Q.
yeah.
Yes.
Q's good.
Q's awesome.
Honestly, you know who I really liked in Next Generation, which I haven't watched her episodes in a while.
Whoopi Goldberg.
But no.
No.
When there's Geordi with a beard. When what's her name? Crusher had to leave. I think the actress left because she was having a baby or something.
No, not the doctor who took her
Dr.
place.
Pulaski. I love Dr. Pulaski.
Oh, she's the worst.
She was on the old show too.
She
was in.
so mean to Data.
I know.
You can't be mean to Data. Data doesn't understand.
Yeah.
It almost seems like anytime she was on screen, she has to mention that Data's a robot.
Well, here's
Data's a blender.
right. Here's
Why don't we just cut Data up? He's a blender.
But he's the robot who wants
I
feelings.
liked her too because like on not Batman.
Would you
On,
cut up your blender
on
if your
Star
blender
Trek-
could write poetry?
On Star Trek 66, she was hot, and she was still hot in even though she had like a fro going, but she was still hot in Next Generation, like 20-something years later. She still looked good.
That's fine. I disliked her very much. I thought she was terribly mean.
Oh,
She seemed awful to me. I'm just saying, like, there were scenes she was in where she gave like very good ideas, very good advice, and then it always seemed to go back to Data sucks.
Data sucks, yeah.
Because he's a blender with feelings.
Right, yeah.
That's all she would.
I still liked her. I liked her.
I don't know.
I mean, the only episode where I didn't like Data was when he got possessed.
Oh, yeah. I
Yeah.
remember you talking about that episode.
That part just weirded me out, and he was like wearing a latex mask underneath whatever other makeup he was wearing.
He was Hannibal Lectering it up.
Can we all agree that Data's great though?
Yeah, Data's
I like.
awesome.
I love
Mostly,
Data
yeah.
episodes.
Mostly,
I like
yeah.
Data episodes.
Especially
data-centric episodes?
with
Yeah.
his conversation with Dr. McCoy once. He's like, "Oh,
in the
I'm
very first
That was
episode.
the very
The
first
first
episode,
episode,
yeah.
Yep," and he's like,
That was
"Oh,
cool.
I am not a Vulcan. Like,
did-
but you're like the most logical one here."
Yeah.
Hold on. Did he come off as he's my favorite character? Did he come off as a wee bit racist when he was
Who?
talking to
Who,
Data?
Data?
No,
McCoy?
Mahomes.
Well,
Because he was old as hell, and I remember Data was walking with him. He's like,
into that because that's
of course,
coming up.
Jon Stewart was wrong because he didn't screw those movies up at all.
Right. We'll get into that. So after that, of course, we have